It's time to accelerate. Hi, I'm your host, Andy Paul. Join me as I host conversations with the leading experts in sales, marketing, sales automation, sales process, leadership, management, training, coaching, any resource that I believe to help you accelerate the growth of your sales, your business, and most importantly, you. Hi, this is Andy. I have a special offer for loyal listeners of Accelerate. It's a no-obligation free trial of my zero-time selling interactive online training. Now, I've worked with thousands of sales reps to teach them how to use my zero-time selling to boost their productivity and transform the results. And so if you want to learn the same proven strategies to help you open more doors, have more effective sales conversations with prospects, and close more orders, then my zero-time selling interactive training system is a fit for you. It's incredibly simple to start. Just take out your smartphone and text the word TRUST, that's T-R-U-S-T, to 96,000. Now, do you have your phone ready? Send a text to 96000. That's a 9 and a 6 followed by 3 zeros. Now enter the single word message, TRUST, and hit send, and you hear right back from me with instructions on how to sign up for your free trial on my zero-time selling interactive training. I look forward to seeing you there.
Hello and welcome to the show. I am amped up to talk today with my guest. Joining me is Trish Bertuzzi, president of the Bridge Group and widely acknowledged as one of the leading experts on inside sales, if not the leading expert on inside sales. You know, there's incredible interest among companies of all sizes about inside sales and the movement toward inside sales and the specialization of sales roles that accompanies that has been one of the most important trends in sales over the past 5 to 10 years. At the same time, there seems to be some uncertainty about how to build and scale an inside sales team. There's also some speculation about the future of sales in general, which we're going to talk about here today with my guest, Trish Bertuzzi. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So give us a little background on yourself. How did you get started in sales? Because you've been specializing in inside sales for almost 20 years now, but how did you get into sales?
So, and I've told this story many times. It was many years ago, and I was a waitress at Ken's Steakhouse in Framingham back in the days of the 3 martini lunch.
Yes.
And I used to wait on the CEO, the VP of sales, and the CFO of a technology company every day. They would come in, have their 2 or 3 Manhattans or martinis, and I would wait on them. And finally, one day, the CEO looked at me, told me I was rude, obnoxious, arrogant, and hungry, and I should go into sales. So I said, give me a job. And he did.
Wow.
And that
can you name that company?
Yeah, International Data Corporation.
Oh, yeah, IDC, okay.
Yeah, IDC. So I started selling their computer installation data files, found out, I'm like, really? People think sales is hard? This is like fun and easy and exciting, and that was the name of that tune, and on I went.
Wow, so what a great start. They probably were happy to have somebody maybe was sober after lunchtime to actually sell something, right?
Yeah, I would imagine so, yeah.
So then how'd that morph into your expertise and interest in inside sales?
Well, it was an inside sales job.
Okay.
So I worked there for a number of years. Then I moved on, so then I went to another company where I was selling then we called it telemarketing. Now we call it sales development for a mainframe product. Then they came out with a PC product, and I went to the CEO and I said, I can sell that over the phone. He's like, no, you can't. I'm like, yes, I can. No, you can't. Yes, I can. No, you can't. I said, let me prove it. I proved that I could sell that technology could be sold over the phone. I built a team, became a manager, left there, went to another technology company, became a director, left there, became the VP of sales and an equity partner in an outsourcing company. And then in 1998, when I was at the outsourcing company, I saw this trend. I saw that people were starting to think that inside sales was simple, that all you had to do was grab some, air quote, young, hungry reps, throw them on the phone, give them a list, and boom, revenue just shot out the ass end.
Right. Give them the yellow pages. How about the list?
Yeah, so I'm like, you know what? These people need some education. So that's when I started the Bridge Group.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
So, I'd read a blog post of yours earlier this year, actually, about, here we are almost 20 years later after you started your company, and people are already starting to foreshadow or seemingly seem to think that, some portion of inside sales might actually be in danger. This in your blog post you're talking about a company founder had approached you with this idea that perhaps he could replace SDRs with sales development reps with automation.
Yeah.
So tell people what your take on that is.
Yeah. Don't you wish? So here's the thing. I've seen this shift that is very concerning to me. And we are starting to over-automate the sales process. We're starting to take the people out of the process. And I think in doing that, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Don't get me wrong. I love technology, and I use every technology known to man in my own sales process. But at some point, when you start putting up this barrier between you and your buyer, I think you're shooting yourself in the foot, because people still buy from people at the end of the day. And one of the things you can't automate is excellence.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what people need to do is take their technology budget, look at it, and then say, am I spending an equal amount of money on making my people better salespeople? Am I investing in skill set enhancement? Am I letting my managers coach them? Am I giving them the right tools they need? And by tools, I mean message and process. I think the pendulum has swung too far over to let's automate everything and moved away from, wait, these are people selling to people. Shouldn't I want them to be the best they can be? So that's my new warrior cry out there to the sales management executives is, look at how much you're spending for technology to automate everything. And you tell me, what percentage of that budget are you willing to spend on your people? That's my challenge.
It's a good challenge. It's a good challenge.
Yeah.
So where do you think, though, this it's not just technology itself, though, that's driving this feeling that you're getting about, using one of my favorite words, disintermediating the person out of the sales process. It's really sort of based on somewhat perception of the SDRs and the job that they're doing, though, isn't it? I mean, the comment that was made to you is that, hey, there's, over-scripted, robotic salespeople. Hey, automation can do just as well as they can.
Well, that's right, but how well they do is not very well at all. So that therein lies the problem. So if you have an SDR team and they are robotic and they are over-scripted and they don't do pre-call planning and they have no idea what their buyer does for a living or what challenges they face, heck yeah, throw some automation in there because you're going to get the same kind of results. But on the flip side of the coin, if you've invested in your SDR team and they completely grasp what your buyers are trying to accomplish with their businesses, and they know how to articulate how they can help them build better businesses, you're going to win.
All right. Well,
you're going to win every time.
Okay, so here's a tough question then. How often do you see that happening? Because I'll give you an example. I get calls as a business owner from some of the biggest names in sales technology, SDRs,
yep.
who, you obviously would know these companies. Their salespeople are no better than the worst ones, right? I mean, they're calling me for enterprise level products. I'm a one-person shop. You obviously have no need for it. A simple 2 minutes on my website would find that out. So how do we fix this problem? It's really a management problem, isn't it? I mean, it starts at management because they're not providing, doing the investment in training or tools, and they seem to think they can take, even these big name companies seem to think they can take the easy way out.
They do. And you will never see a Bridge Group client making that mistake, by the way.
Okay, give me a client list so I can tell you.
Oh, yeah. Trust me, you will not. I guarantee it. But, I mean, I get
Well, so what's the key? What's the key to making it stick, right? So you're helping provide training and a structure to a sales team. And this is not just something that's, relegated purely to inside sales. It's sales in general, right? As companies, bring somebody in for a day and they deluge people with information, and then 30 days later they've forgotten everything. So what's the key to making the training stick?
Okay, so let me just say we are not a training company.
Yes, I'm sorry, but
that's okay.
But your opinion is pretty relevant here.
Yeah, so I mean, we do help people figure out their process and their message. But see, here's what happens: we spend a fortune hiring people. I mean, the entire hiring process, because demand so far outstrips talent in this day and age, the hiring process has never been more expensive. So we'll spend all this money to bring someone on board, and then we do a terrible job at getting them onboarded. So we hook them up to the fire hose, throw them on the phone, give them some crappy leads to practice with, have them go listen to Bob, Jill, or Sue, and hey, there you go. There's your ramp. And that is a big mistake. So what the better companies are doing, or the companies that actually understand that onboarding is strategic, is they're teaching their salespeople and their SDRs about their buyers first. So who do we sell to? Why? What are they doing? How are they currently addressing challenges? How do we help them? That has to do with the business issues. And then eventually they teach them about product. Buyer first, product second.
And how are they reinforcing that as time goes on? What are you seeing as best practices among your clients?
Coaching.
Coaching.
I cannot say enough about coaching. Everyone knows how critical it is, and it falls to the bottom of the list every time. And for those companies that are calling you with that terrible SDR tactic, the first thing to say to them is, tell your manager to call Trish Bertuzzi.
Yeah, I'll do that as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and because that's the first thing I do. I said, you know what? Tell your manager to call me sometime because I feel bad for you that they're wasting your time calling someone who doesn't fit your ideal customer profile. You deserve better as a salesperson or an SDR. You tell your manager I said so.
Yeah, and so you've opened up another issue, right? Which is when people are given a list, it's not a good list, and they're not spending any time vetting what's on the list before a pre-call preparation before they make the call.
Well, see, that's because there's all these studies out there that talk about how fast you have to respond, right? And that's mostly for inbound,
Right.
The fastest response wins. Well, how many times do you get a call within a moment of downloading something and they call you and I'm like, I'm already a customer. Oh my God, I did a webinar with you last week. Take a breath, I think it's not necessarily the fastest.
No, it's not at all.
I think it's the smartest.
Right. I mean, I in my book, I talk about it. The race doesn't go to the swift. It goes to the responsive. But I define responsiveness as a prepared response. You do want to be as fast as you can be, but only if you're prepared. If you're not prepared, you're wasting the customer's time.
Actually, I just read that section of Zero Time Selling yesterday, and it was extremely well written. So congratulations.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So let's talk about this bigger issue if we can, because I know it's beyond inside sales, but I mean you're an industry leader in sales. It's this article I saw on a blog called Sales for Life about Forrester research saying that 25% of business-to-business sales jobs are going to disappear in the next 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do we keep coming back to this? I mean,
because it's a headline grabber. It's a headline grabber. I mean, that's all it is a headline. They're not going to disappear. I mean, maybe Forrester said that, and I'm not quoting them because I'm not sure, but I know Serious Decisions at their last conference, it was about saving the B2B sales rep because their research proves that buyers not only want to engage with sellers, but want to engage with them earlier in the sales process.
Right. Absolutely.
If the seller adds value.
Exactly. And
therein lies the rub.
Yeah. So, and I've got another platform to stand upon here is part of the issue, and you addressed it head on in any comments you made earlier, is that we do such a bad job providing context for our salespeople. Education. I call it sales education, not sales training, but give them context about what it is they're selling, right? Why it's important, why it's important to the customer, what the customer is going to do in terms of the value they're going to receive from products, as opposed to just sort of this nuts and bolts product stuff and this emphasis on process over value.
Exactly. And was there a question in there that I missed?
No. I was just going to get your reaction to that.
No, I think that
exactly works.
I think that's exactly the whole thing. In our rush to revenue, in our desire to move the sales process forward, I think sometimes we forget to step back and say, am I adding value here? Or am I executing a process as a check the box strategy? So I think every once in a while, as sales leaders, we need to put ourselves into our own sales process, shadow that level of engagement, and say, wait, we have some things built into our sales process that add no value to the buyer, that they're not responding to, but I'm forcing my people to do because I thought it was a good idea at one point in time. I think we have to inspect our sales process and tie it more closely to the buyer journey on a more regular basis than during our annual planning sessions.
And acknowledging, as you talked about before, that the buyers need the seller.
They need you if you're helping them.
If you're helping them, absolutely. If you're in that position now, they need you.
Yes.
I mean, if not, I mean, an example that sort of comes to mind as I was thinking about this article last night about, how sales is going to disappear, is looking at the car industry, the retail car industry.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still lots of car salespeople out there. Yeah, you can buy a car online. It's not a hard deal. Why do car salespeople still exist? I mean, even though the process seems to be displeasurable for most people, it exists because people feel they need to talk to someone that can help them make a good decision.
Well, same thing with realtors.
Yeah, same thing with realtors. Absolutely. My sister's a realtor.
Yeah. I mean, you do, 80% of your shopping online, but when push comes to shove, you want the person that has the expertise to guide you through the process.
Yeah. I mean, even blue shirts at Best Buy or, Walmart, in the consumer electronics department. I mean, everybody shops on Amazon, but people are still predominantly buying in retail establishments for consumer electronics.
And I have to tell you something. I'm glad you mentioned Best Buy because I had a recent experience with them where I walked in and I bought some, major appliances. And there was a millennial that helped me who had been trained so incredibly well. And what he didn't know, he had access to at his fingertips that I wanted to hold him up as a standard to my clients and say, this is what we're hoping for. This person has been invested in. Best Buy made an investment in giving them the knowledge that they need to do an effective job for me, the consumer.
Oh yeah, I had to tell a story of my Best Buy experience. About 5 years ago, I was looking to buy a TV. I walked into a Best Buy, and it was like the blue shirt guy finished my sentences for me. As I started, and I literally was in the store and out the door with the TV in my trunk in 20 minutes.
I'm telling you, they do a fantastic job. They make an investment. That's what I'm trying to communicate. That's my new thing.
Right.
It's time to make an investment. You make an investment in hiring them. Now make an investment in making them the best they can be. They deserve it.
All right. So we're going to take a break. But before the break, I'm going to pose this hypothetical scenario for you that I ask all my guests. And here it is. So you've been hired as a new sales manager at a company whose sales have stalled and they really need a sales turnaround. Upper management, anxious for a change. So what 2 things would you do in the first week that would have the biggest impact? So think about that, and we'll get your answer after the break. I'm with Trish Bertuzzi. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Andy. Connect and Sell is used by sales reps at nearly 1,000 companies, including hundreds of technology startups and several Fortune 500 companies, to overcome the challenges of getting prospects on the phone. Companies using Connect and Sell grow their revenues faster by enabling their sales reps to have more sales conversations in 90 minutes than they could otherwise achieve in an entire week. Connect and Sell can be deployed directly to your sales reps, or you can take advantage of their outbound on-demand service, which delivers qualified prospect meetings scheduled directly on your sales reps' calendars. Visit connectandsell.com to learn more about how Connect and Sell can start filling your pipeline today.
Welcome back. Here with Trish Bertuzzi, talking about inside sales, sales education, sales hiring, a pretty broad-ranging discussion. Before the break, posed a hypothetical scenario for you. You're in charge of a sales turnaround at a company whose sales have stalled. What 2 things would you do in the first week? You're a new hire sales manager. What 2 things would you do in the first week that would have the biggest impact?
So I'm going to answer the question a little backwards.
Okay.
Because before I took the job, I would make sure that the market wants what the company is selling.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it just doesn't.
Exactly.
There's an app for that. There's an app for everything now. Because
Right.
you can doesn't mean you should develop a company. So,
right.
but
The assumption of the story was you were smart enough to figure that out.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I would hope so. So the first two things I would do would be first, there's so many. I have to think about the two most important.
First week,
I would speak to as many customers as possible. I would ask them about their buying experience with us. What worked well, what was unnecessary, what was uncomfortable. And I would begin to gain an understanding from my actual customers on how I might evolve my sales process, what needs to be added, what needs to be subtracted, what needs to be improved, that type of thing. Because they will tell you if you ask. Don't ask them about your product. They bought it. Ask them about their engagement process with your sellers. That would be the first thing.
Good answer.
Then the second thing, I would listen to as many calls as possible. And I would listen to calls in three very specific categories, because this is where most of the leakage is. First, I would listen to the calls that my SDRs or BDRs were making. Their first impressions with your buyer are critical. What are they saying? How are they executing? Are they just, hey, you downloaded a white paper, calling to see if you have any questions? Or are they, typically when I speak to a person in your role, here's their 3 issues and whatever. You get where I'm going with that.
Yep.
Then I would listen to when the BDR, SDR passes something to the sales rep and they conduct a discovery call, what does that sound like? Because where I see the biggest amount of leakage is in account executives who don't know how to conduct a discovery call where they have to create the vision themselves. They're great if the vision's already there, not so great if it needs to be created. So I would focus there and see what has to happen. And then finally, I would go listen to as many demos as possible, because we as an industry do a terrible job with our demos. So I would kind of look at that as 3 key conversion points. That's actually what that entire activity is focused around, is improving conversion ratios.
Great answer. So isn't one of the issues that we're seeing oftentimes now, and especially in SaaS startups, is that there's this what I call a rush to demo, right? That they demo before doing any sort of discovery. And so as a result, what they're doing is basically just a product pitch that consumes some of the customer's time.
100%. You are 100% correct. Because they don't, that's all they have. They haven't been taught how to have a conversation about business with their potential buyer. All they want to do is go, okay, you click over here and see that green banner at the top? Well, when you click that, they don't know how to say, hey, what are you trying to accomplish? How are you currently addressing that? What do you like about how you're currently doing it? What don't you like about how you're currently doing it? What if you could do this? They don't have those kinds of conversations because they've never been trained to have those kinds of conversations.
And it's part of the issue a little bit in, at least I'm seeing in some SaaS startups, is that, the nature of the person they hired, right? I mean, the job description is all about closer, extrovert, aggressive, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and nothing really talking about, hey, the requirement of the job is you really need to be sort of consultative with the customer, help do some discovery, be able to paint the vision, and it seems like what they're hiring, what they need are 2 separate things.
So that's an interesting data point. So Amira Rand, who's the VP of Sales at Cario, they're one of our clients. Mm-hmm. When she talks about hiring, she talks about looking for people with empathy. And that is a critical success factor in selling nowadays, is having empathy. Absolutely. And being able to communicate with empathy with your potential buyers. So when someone has a job description that's hunt, kill, crush, well, first of all, those are the wrong things to be looking for. I mean, obviously you want someone who's motivated, who's not afraid to ask hard questions, who can get the job done. But really, it's not about hunt, kill, crush. It's about developing relationships. So they're shooting themselves in the foot on one hand for the skill sets that they're advertising they're looking for. And on the other hand, now you wonder why there's no diversity in tech sales, why there's so few women.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where's the empathy, right? It's all a bunch of high testosterone guys, right?
Yeah, I'm super excited to hunt, crush, kill. Really, can't wait. That's like first thing on the top of my mind every morning when I get up. No, I want to have relationships. I want to feel like at the end of the day, I did good. I helped someone. So I think people are starting to realize that, and we're starting to see pivot points.
Yeah, I mean, I had this conversation recently with Lori Richardson about why aren't there more women in sales. And I think this is one of the key points is this emphasis on, as you said, sort of the kill crush type job description, and even using personality assessments and so on to try to weed out people that don't sort of fit those those profiles, which again is so counterproductive.
It is.
Now,
it is.
I also think that going along with this idea of empathy is curiosity. And how do you, for guys, let's say, that are effective, do they have to be naturally empathetic, or is this something that can be trained?
I think they are naturally empathetic. I just don't think they've been taught to recognize it as a strategic skill set. I think they're great relationship builders, but they just don't know how critical a success factor that could be for them to hone that skill and develop that skill and be rewarded for possessing that skill.
And it's part of that problem with that, in some companies there's just such an emphasis on scaling and scaling quickly that, the emphasis is all about, shortening the sales cycle at all costs, as opposed to saying, look, we're building a relationship, especially since many of these businesses are recurring revenue based, building a relationship that is going to sustain itself and that we're going to minimize the churn over time.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. There's, this rush to revenue, but then there are so many examples out there of people that are like, oh my God, look at them. They're such high growth. But when you look on the back end, they are bleeding customers, bleeding. So those high growth companies, are they keeping their customers? That's all that matters. Anybody can get them, but not everybody keeps them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think venture investors would be very concerned about the churn rate, right?
You would hope.
You would hope, right?
You would
and
hope.
It's sort of funny is that a lot of this talk about the death of sales really sort of started, at least in my experience, the venture community. I mean, I remember back in 2007, 2008, I was helping a company raise a bunch of money in the Valley, in Silicon Valley, and running into multiple investors at that time that said that in a business-to-business, they would never invest in a business-to-business startup that had a sales force. And then I find it ironic that here we are 7 years later, and there's a rush to invest in these SaaS startups that have inside sales teams that scale quickly to become the next unicorn.
Well, I mean, I think they learned a lesson that, that whole freemium model, we were all like, oh, freemium's the way to go. They'll just convert. Yeah, well, freemium doesn't work, or it works very rarely.
Yeah, it doesn't scale.
No, it doesn't scale. And that was a lesson learned the hard way. And it took a few years to get there, but they finally did.
Yeah, interesting. All right, so we're going to go into the last segment of our show. I ask you some rapid-fire questions. You can give me one-word answers, or you can elaborate as much as you wish. So, you ready?
I am.
All right, so what's the most powerful sales tool in your arsenal?
Experience.
I love it. Great answer. So name one tool or application you use today for sales or sales management that you can't live without.
Salesforce.com.
Okay.
Do I have to say just one? Because I have a whole list.
Oh, yeah. Give us more. Yeah, suggestions are always welcome. So give us more.
So I love Salesforce.com. I love Inside View. I love Time Trade. I love...
okay, so for people that aren't familiar with these, Inside View is...
a data intelligence tool. It tells me a lot about the companies I'm targeting.
Okay.
Time Trade is an automated calendaring system. I use Yesware for email tracking.
As do I. Great application.
Yeah. I use InsideSales.com's dialer when I want to do ghosting using local presence.
Mm-hmm.
I use Connect and Sell when I do outbound calling. Yes, baby, outbound lives, and I love it. Yeah.
Connect and Sell, sponsor of this show.
Oh, there you go then. I love technology, so.
Yeah, no.
Those are
all good answers. Favorites. Good tools. Yeah, for people getting into it, Yesware is a great tool, or anything of that ilk that gives you that intelligence, or somebody's interacting with the email you sent. Absolutely essential. And I'm always stunned. I just remember like a year ago, I presented to a team of 100 salespeople, pretty sophisticated salespeople. None of them had even heard of the tool, of the category of tool, and they were just, I'm always sort of astonished, right? I mean, because, gosh, it's so fundamental if you're in sales. If you can know that somebody's engaging with your email, that's worth a lot.
Yep.
All right, so who's your sales role model?
That's a tough one. I don't know if I have an answer to that. There are so many good salespeople out there.
Yeah, give us one or two.
I think Jill Conrath
Yes.
actually does a good job of marketing herself as a product. She does an excellent job, actually.
She does a wonderful job. Yes.
Yes. So I would say in my little niche of the world, it would be Jill Conrath.
Oh, hey, in my little niche of the world, it's Jill Conrath. So she knows that too.
Yeah.
So what's the one book that every salesperson should read? It doesn't necessarily have to be a sales book, but one book every salesperson should read.
A book that's out now, honest to God, mentioning Jill, I'm just sitting here with agile selling books all over my desk. I'm sending them to my clients. Anyone who's in sales and wants to know how in God's name can I learn everything that I need to learn in a way that's effective needs to read Agile Selling by Jill Conrath.
Yep, great book.
Yep. In Q1 of next year, every sales development rep or owner of a company or anyone managing a sales development team needs to read Trish Bertuzzi's book, The Sales Development Playbook, How to Build Repeatable Pipeline and Accelerate Growth with Inside Sales.
Wow. Now, so when's that going to become available?
Q1.
Q1. Do you know when?
I'm shooting for January, but my editor might have a different opinion.
Okay, well, this episode, people are going to be listening to it in Q1, so look
Perfect.
for the book. Go on Amazon. At the minimum, it'll be available for pre-order. You're going to need to order it.
Yep.
So give the title again.
The Sales Development Playbook, Build Repeatable Pipeline and Accelerate Growth with Inside Sales.
All right. Everybody, make sure you at least pre-order it. If not, actually order and take delivery of it. So here's another tough question. Your favorite music to listen to psych yourself up for an important meeting or sales call?
Silence.
Silence. Okay.
I'm a little bit hyper. I don't know if you've noticed.
Well, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
I need silence to gather my thoughts, make sure that I have a plan when I'm going into a sales call and I'm not just winging it, and that I have all the information about my potential buyer that I need. So I like just a few moments of silence to kind of go through my internal checklist.
Okay. I'll tell you that the favorite on the list so far is AC/DC. So,
Of course.
Of course. So, what's the first sales activity you do every day?
It's the worst thing you could do every day.
Check email.
Yep.
I don't think it's the worst thing. I think that's...
Well, actually...
If you've got customers, this actually could be the best thing, especially if they're not all in your time zone.
Yeah. Well, actually, Jill has some interesting research on how it's bad for you because it releases dopamine and you're making mini decisions too quickly. There's brain research on it, but I can't break it. I'm addicted. I can't break the addiction.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You can go to the Betty Ford Center for email addiction.
Could be.
Yeah, so last question. What's the one question you get asked most frequently by salespeople?
How do I get people to call me back?
And what's your answer?
Are you interesting? Or are you relevant?
Okay.
I answer a question with a question. And when they say, I don't know, or no, there's your problem.
And how do they make themselves interesting or relevant?
Learn about your buyers. Learn about them. If you're selling to VPs of application development, you should know everything about that job and that role. Everything. If you're selling to a VP of sales, what do they care about? Not what do you have to sell them. What do they really care about? And how can you help them address some of those issues? If you're just selling to someone because you're going in with what you got and you don't know anything about their day, how they're measured, how they're compensated, what's going on in their industry, then shame on you.
Right. And for salespeople, it's not an excuse to say, well, no one at my company taught me this.
That's correct.
You're in sales. Go find out. Make the investment in yourself.
That's correct.
All right. Well, Trish, it's been great. I want to thank you for joining me. Please tell people how they can learn more about you and the Bridge Group.
Go to our site, bridgegroupinc.com. The most interesting parts of the site are our resources page, where we publish a ton of research and other content on inside sales, and also our blog, where we never talk about our services, but just share best practices and emerging trends.
And it is a great blog, and maybe one of the most valuable part of it is you get so much feedback and comments from people that are reading, which is, like I said, makes it even more valuable.
And that's the part we enjoy.
Yeah. So everybody remember, friends, make it a part of your day every day to deliberately learn something new to help you accelerate the pace of your business. Subscribing to this podcast is an easy way to do that, because then you'll make sure you don't miss any of our conversations with top experts like our guest today, Trish Bertuzzi, who share their experience and expertise about how to accelerate the growth of your business. So thanks for joining us, and until next time, this is Andy Paul. Good selling, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you like what you heard and want to make sure you don't miss any upcoming episodes, please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or Stitcher.com. For more information about today's guest, visit my website at andypaul.com.